Alex Marlow here, editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, host of Breitbart News Daily on SiriusXM Patriot number 125. Here with Seth Dillon, who is the CEO of the Babylon Bee. Wow, one of the coolest names in the game right now. Seth,
thank you. Appreciate
congrats
that.
on all the success.
Yeah, thank you.
A few things I want to get to with you, but first let's talk about the event where we are. Turning Point Student Action Summit 2021. You're speaking to a crop of younger people, conservatives, a lot of them Christian-minded. What's the key message that you conveyed to them or are conveying to them that they need to hear right now?
Well, I'm going to talk to them a lot about this kind of cancel culture censorship stuff that we're experiencing and kind of the ways that it works out, the ways that it plays out with how they're fact-checking us and smearing us and maligning us, and it is in fact them who are using misinformation to smear us as being a source of it. I'm going to talk about that some, but I'm also going to encourage them, when you face these kinds of attacks, and they are, malicious, ridiculous, baseless attacks, that's an encouraging thing. It means you're doing something right. I think that the fact that we're attracting that kind of attention means we're doing something right. We're striking a nerve, which is very important. I mean, I'm also going to encourage them to speak up and to speak boldly and speak the truth boldly, because I think there's a lot of people right now feeling so much pressure. I know, feeling so much pressure to self-censor, which is really just doing the tyrant's work for him.
Exactly right.
So I'm going to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, and this is a very similar theme to what I talked about, is that how I'm trying to convey to people that it's worth it to be out and to be bold and to paint in bold colors, because you can go and have a life that's a righteous life, a satisfying life, and you feel free. And if you are really holding back too much, then you're not really your full self.
Right. That's true. And it's not just that you're not your full self, it's that we're in a battle right now. Yeah. And you can't sideline yourself in that. I get criticized sometimes by people who tell me that my tweets are too divisive, or the Babylon Bee is too divisive. We should be uniting around what we have in common. It's like, the left is trying to transition your children without your consent. That's right. And they're trying to teach kids to hate each other because of the color of their skin. Totally and when that kind of stuff is going on, sidelining yourself and removing yourself from that conversation is not the solution. No. You're not helping anybody, least of all your own children. So.
Yeah, no, it is amazing that their current obsession is to try to convince non-racist kids that they're actually racist and they should be angry about racism. Right, exactly. It's amazing that this is it. Of all the things they settled on, of all the problems facing planet Earth right now, this is the one they think is the most urgent.
Let's make them racist sooner. Yeah. Come on.
It's unbelievable. And so this is where you guys come in using a humorous approach.
Yes.
You guys satirical headlines. And I got to tell you, when I was at Berkeley, I would read The Onion over my, chicken tikka masala, and I would laugh, but I would know that they're not with us. They're on the wrong team. Yeah.
But they were funny, though.
They were funny, and less funny now, but they got some good ones. And finally, we're doing our own thing. Well, you guys are doing our own thing for us. I'm shocked you're the first, yet I'm thrilled you're the first.
Yeah. Well, it is. I don't know how I think what's shocking is that there aren't more people doing it.
Exactly.
And I'll say this for a number of reasons. The left has created an environment that's ripe for conservatives to stand up and fill this gap. And the gap that they've created is one where they've got all these rules about things you can't joke about, all these things you can't say. You're not allowed to punch down. You're not allowed to make jokes about women because they're beneath you, right?
Yeah,
you can't punch down at them. And that kind of stuff, these kinds of rules, it's like, this is ridiculous. For one thing, you're reinforcing the very kind of misogynistic or sexist thinking that you're supposedly attacking by telling me that I can't punch down at women. I don't think women are beneath me, But they make all these rules for comedians to follow, predicated on this idea that we shouldn't be offensive. We can't be offensive. But comedy, what comedy does is it makes fun and light of things. That's the job of comedians, is to make fun of those stupid rules and the stupid people who make them. And so with left-wing comedians feeling like they have to follow these rules and not actually do comedy, they are a joke at that point when they're censoring themselves for that reason. But they're creating a huge opportunity for people who are willing to make the jokes you're not allowed to make anymore and say the things you're not allowed to say anymore. So I'm actually shocked that there aren't more people like us doing what we're doing and doing it successfully. And I hope that they get, I hope that we inspire people too.
This is exactly what we did at Breitbart, and I'm really proud of, inspire people in the journalism side of things. Another battlefield where the right was really pathetic, and now we're a lot stronger, and not everyone works for us, but a lot of people doing similar things. And that's a good thing, because it's all holding the left accountable. And that's what you guys are doing with your humor, yet you're kind of alone. There's a few guys on Fox who are funny, but it's really not enough. And I think that I want to make a pitch for you on your behalf to bring more people. into your circle, into your orbit, because this is a fertile territory for us.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, there's huge opportunity. But it's not just an opportunity to make money, you know, it's an opportunity to have a cultural impact.
Correct.
And, you know, I mentioned punching down a moment ago. I don't characterize what we do as punching down. I think we're punching back. I think conservatives have been on the ropes in the culture battle for a long time. All of these ideas that we're attacking, and we are when I summarize what we do, the most succinct way I can put it is we ridicule bad ideas.
Sure.
And these ideas that we're attacking are coming from the top down.
Yeah.
It's coming from politicians, it's coming from celebrities, it's coming from corporations, Oreo, Pepsi, Coke, you know, Microsoft. It's coming from the top down.
Yeah.
So we're in a defensive posture. We're really in the fetal position on the floor, trying not to get kicked to death.
Yes, that's right.
So that's the position we're doing our comedy from. And so I totally reject this idea that we're punching down on anybody. And I think it's really, there's a real opportunity, again, like not just to make money, but to actually have an impact in that battle.
And you guys are doing it, it's kind of G-rated, PG-rated and most of the time, which is even more impressive. We're all kind of, we can all laugh at a well-timed dirty joke, but it's interesting that you guys are doing it, it's almost like a family sensibility, definitely a Christian sensibility. It's almost more impressive to do it that way. Yeah,
we had a joke recently. There was like a debate. We were making a joke about this trans weightlifter that's competing in the Women's Olympics.
Yeah.
And there was an internal debate about whether or not we could use the word testicle in a headline on our website. Like, are we allowed to do that on our website? Is it too G-rated for that?
I would do it with emojis, personally. I'd figure out a way to do it with emojis.
So, yeah, it is clean. And the challenge is to do like clean humor that's still biting, that's still, you know, snarky, that still has an edge to it, that's not cheesy.
Yeah.
And you can do that by just grappling with the real issues. These are issues of real import. And that affect a lot of people in a lot of very serious ways. So touching on those things, you don't have to curse every other word,
right?
You know, and just litter the whole article with the F-bomb to make it funny.
No.
So, you know, we don't do that. We don't have to.
And it's a stark contrast to the left's humor these days, which is not actually about making a joke. It seems to be more about ginning up outrage and getting applause. Have you noticed this trend where it seems like they're not even going for the punchline, they're going for the applause line? You watch Samantha Bee's show, I think she's got comedic chops. She's gone crazy. Like now it's just and not say I watch her regularly, but if there's a clip that comes by, it's always her trying to get the audience to do the seal thing at the right time.
By saying the right thing politically.
Yes.
And it's kind of wrapped in humor, kind of, but it's mostly preachy.
Mostly.
It's more preachy than anything else, and the late night comics are all doing it too, you know, where they'll get up there and they'll give you a long monologue where they're emotionally appealing to you about something. I think where The Onion has kind of lost its way a little bit. I do still like some of their stuff. Some of it's funny. But, you know, if you look at some of their most shared articles of the last few years, and they're based on, they're not rooted in the truth. Good satire is rooted in the truth. And when they do hit that, they're funny. But some of their jokes, like you could probably say of some of ours sometimes, are more in line, they're more riding on the back of a narrative than on the actual, like, bedrock of truth. So they have a narrative they're trying to advance, and the joke is not actually attached to reality. It's attached to the narrative, and that makes it not funny for anyone who sees the narrative for what it is. Now, everyone on their side who thinks that narrative is true, it's funny to them. So, and that can happen on both sides. The problem with how the media treats us is they act like that only happens on our side. The Onion is just riffing on the truth. We're riffing on riffs on riffs on riffs or something.
That's such a great lesson, because I'm thinking about this in some of the jokes I've made in speeches and stuff. They just don't hit as hard when the joke is based off of the narrative that you think the audience is with you. It hits harder when it's based off of the stone cold facts.
It's got to be attached to the truth.
Wow.
And we often get criticized for having stories that are too close to the truth. You know, it's, oh, your stories are believable. People shared it because it was believable. That's what jokes are. If satire, if my joke about Joe Biden isn't believable, it's so absurd it's not believable, then I didn't really accomplish anything by skewering him. If it is believable, it's an indictment of him, not satire. So
explain to me, or don't explain, but share with me, who is, when something comes across your desk, a certain subject matter, that you just get really excited, that this is your favorite target? Because I have them. Like, if anyone sends me a Mark Milley story, I know I'm going to have a good day. Like, I know that guy is just a ball of humor to me. And so you can't put a story up on him without, I think, cracking up my audience. Well, who's one of your favorites lately?
Like a personality we like to make fun of?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a bunch of people on the left we go after a lot. Some people are challenging. I'll say Biden's challenging. You can quote the guy verbatim and it feels like satire. So he's a very difficult one. That's one of those areas where, you know, Trump is difficult too, honestly. Trump is difficult to satirize because so many things that come out of his mouth and so many things that he does are so outlandish, and he's such a big personality. It's really hard to exaggerate him a little bit. So, but he's a fun one. I think like Fauci, for example, is one that's been fun to mess with here over the course of the last year because he's been on every side of every issue. And
you guys are really cutting edge in that because he was untouchable for a while. Then you guys started
and nobody wants to criticize the guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we step in and we make jokes about Fauci and how he's flip-flopping on this and that, and he's debating himself on all these issues, you know, we have like 6 of him on the screen, you know, debating himself. You know, those are jokes no one else is making. So.
Seth Dillon's with me. He is the big guy in charge of the Babylon Bee. Explain to me Not the Bee, because I follow Not the Bee too on Instagram.
Well,
I think it is.
Not the Bee exists for the reasons that you know, for very obvious reasons. We're talking about how crazy the world is, how absurd the world is. There are so many stories in the real headlines that are so absurd you'd think they're satire, but they somehow aren't. And there were a lot of people sharing stuff on social media saying, this is not The Onion, this is real. This is not the Babylon Bee, this is actually real. That was happening more and more and more, and we thought to ourselves, you know, there's actually room for a website that doesn't just do satire, but actually reports on these crazy stories that should be satire and aren't, and just mocks them, you know, mocks the stupidity of it, draw out the irony and the absurdity of it, but in a humor-based entertainment way, just not straight satire. So it's not satire, it's reporting, kind of, loosely reporting on real news that's just crazy and seems like satire. So it's a fun project. It's a lot of fun.
I like it, I enjoy that too. So what's the metric of success for you guys? What are you looking for other than just I imagine you're trying to crack each other up and one-up each other with the best headlines, but it's a day at the office. Take us into it.
Well, I can measure success by the attacks, honestly. I think that the more we're being attacked, and it's just ramping up, I am constantly doing, you know, I'm constantly sending demand letters to people now. I'm doing media, you know, interviews and stuff, talking about these situations where people are defaming us. I think that's one metric of success. Obviously, the others are, you know, how the business is growing and how financially stable it is and how we're able to support ourselves independently of big tech. But I think the key thing is really just who are we reaching with the truth? What kind of impact are we having culturally? Because we want to make people laugh, but we also want to make them think. And so, you know, the most rewarding thing for us is when we get emails back from people who are telling us that we did just that. So.
Yeah, that's it. So where do you want to go next? Is it more headlines or is it multimedia?
Well, I'd love to sell the site to Elon Musk because he's a big fan, and I think maybe he'd pay $1 billion for it if
he's got it. But, you wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, but. I don't know. I mean, yeah, we're getting into video, so we're starting to do some animations. We're starting to do some short form, like sketch comedy stuff. Our crew out in Southern California is doing a great job with that stuff. If you haven't seen it yet, go on our YouTube channel. It's pretty awesome. So we're dabbling in that a little bit. I think that's going to be an area of real growth for us.
So how big is the team right now?
20 plus.
That's good. So that's bigger than I expected, which is a good thing to hear because I'm hoping you're bringing in more people. So give me the same question, but for the movement. What do you think the conservative movement needs right now? Because you guys are kind of pioneers right now, which is great, and we were there at Breitbart at a certain time. What do you think we need as a conservative movement right now to get the word out?
We need more truth tellers. We need more bold truth tellers. I mean, that's going to be part of my message tomorrow when I'm talking to the kids. Is that there are plenty of people like us out there on the front lines, you know, and you've got Breitbart, you've got the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and his crew, and you got people who are, you got Prager University, and Turning Point USA, you got all this stuff, which is valuable stuff, and they're all doing great work, but there has to also be this uprising from people in their places of work, young professionals, students on their campuses. Rather than, like I said, doing the tyrant's work for him by censoring themselves, they have to be bold and speak the truth, push back on this nonsense, and really assert their right to be in the workplace and to have the thoughts and views and conservative values that they have. If they don't do that en masse, then they're going to continue to feel this pressure to be silent and to keep their views to themselves. And as long as they do that, the left is going to continue to pummel us in the culture battle. So I really think it's about boldness and speaking up, but that's just my opinion.
Seth Dillon, if people want to support you, what can they do?
If they want to support the Bee specifically or not the Bee, become a subscriber. Cut out big tech. You know, we generate a lot of traffic and revenue from the social networks, but the subscribers, you know, they support us. They're our lifeline so that when we lose those platforms, which I feel like is inevitable unless something changes, then that's a great way of supporting us. Yeah.
Well done. Well, we appreciate the work at Breitbart, and we're constantly sharing your headlines in our water cooler channel that we've got online, a virtual water cooler. So keep it up. Keep entertaining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.